everyone. In this video, we will take a look at properties of exponents, and in this case, we got product to a power property. Now, in the simplest case, what you got is you've got some product of two numbers, and then you're raising them to a power. But what does that mean? Let's take the power, let's say, for example, 3. That means that you are multiplying a times b 3 times, right? Which means that it's going to be a times b times another a times b times another a times b. But what you can see now is that you can combine these a's into one term, which will be a cubed, and then we combine the b's into one term, and that becomes b cubed. But what we could have done right away in the beginning is we could have just taken the 3 and distributed it to each term. And that's what is called product to power rule. We are distributing that power to each term, and we get an a cubed and multiply that by b cubed. Now let's look at that. Let's apply that to the following exercises. So first one is negative 2ut, and then we are raising the whole thing to the power 3. All right, we are going to distribute this power 3 to each term according to the product to power rule. And whenever you are distributing the 3 to negative 2, you have to raise negative 2 to power 3. Then you're going to raise u to the power 3, and then you're going to raise t to the power 3, right? What is negative 2 to the power 3? So we are multiplying negative 2 by itself 3 times. We will get a negative answer because two negatives will become a plus, but 2 cubed is 8. And then we got u cubed t to the third. All right, let's go ahead and enter that here. The next example is actually a trick example. I want you to always remember that no matter what it is, what it is, when you are raising that it to power 0, unless it is 0 itself, the answer will just be 1. Anything to the power 0 is 1. Okay, now let's take a look at the third example. That one is going to be a little bit more complicated because of the negative powers, but let's see if we can get through that. We got power negative 2. Let's go ahead and distribute this power negative 2 to each term using the product to power property. We're going to get 5 to the power negative 2 multiplied by k to the power 5, and we're raising that to the power negative 2. So all I've done so far is just distributed the power to each term. Now, what is 5 to the power negative 2? Remember what negative 2 does. We're going to write it as a fraction by just inserting that over 1 on the bottom. If I want to take this guy and I want to move it to the bottom, what happens to the power, the negative power, it will become positive. Okay, that's the definition of negative exponent. So now I can move that 5 squared to the bottom. Now, when I moved it, what happened on the top? Well, on the top, there's nothing left because you moved the guy to the bottom. But that nothing, you can't put 0 because then the whole thing will be 0. That wouldn't be correct. You can always multiply it by 1, which means that 1 will be left. Okay, now I'm going to do exact same thing to the second part. I will have a 1, and then I'm going to move that k to the 5 to the power 2 and get rid of the negative. Now, the last thing I need to do is 5 squared is 25, of course, is to use the property that we already talked about, which is power to another power. Well, what we do with those is we're going to just multiplying them. And that's going to give us k to the power 10. Okay? Now, when you are multiplying two fractions, you are multiplying straight across. Multiply the tops, multiply the bottoms. We've got 1 divided by 25, k to the power 10. Okay, this was hard. Now let's look at one more, and hopefully that one is not going to be so hard. We've got 9x to the power negative 9 to the power 2. Okay, let's distribute this 2 to each term, right? Because we have a product. We got 9 squared, and then we have x to the power negative 9, and then we're raising that to the power 2. Okay, 9 squared is 81. Now this guy, we can multiply first. Negative 9 times 2 from raising a power to another power, that would be negative 18. And that would have been it, except they do not want you to ever leave any negative powers in the final answer. What that means is we're going to make this a fraction, and we can also make this a fraction, doesn't matter. And we're going to move this guy over here to the bottom. And when you do that, your negative power becomes positive power. And that would be the final answer here. Let me check that and see.